Good evening, welcome to Prime Edition. I am Cynthia Nyamai, and today is the first Thursday of 2024. We are so glad that you could join us tonight, and our reporters all over the country have been gathering stories for you, and one of the burning stories and issues today continues to be the housing levy, and we do have some interesting stories for you. But first, let's have the highlights. Standing with the president, a section of lawmakers want the judiciary to shield the government agenda against endless litigation as the housing levy gets a new lease of life. Respect the medical profession. Health Cabinet Secretary speaks in defense of caregivers after a woman's tirade goes viral on social media. And leaving nothing to chance, the government says banditry must be fought at all costs. Well, we would love to hear from you. You can send us your feedback on our social media pages, KBC Channel 1 on Instagram, Facebook, and also on Twitter. And you could also send me a message on my social media pages. My username is Cynthia Nyamai. Now, Kiambu Senator Karungo Thangwa says that he will table a motion seeking to compel the Chief Justice to create a special division of the court to handle cases on government policy issues. Karungo, who led a section of Kenya Kwanza MPs in defending President William Ruto from accusations of clamping on the independence of the judiciary, accused a section of judges of being held hostage by corruption cartels to frustrate the housing agenda.
The Ruiru Affordable Housing Project. Men at work as story buildings stand tall, not to just beat the deadline given by the government, but to also actualize Kenya Kwanza's most ambitious project, providing affordable houses to Kenyans. A section of Kenya Kwanza MPs are touring the site to assess the progress made so far. Kiambu Senator Karungo Thangwa, who chairs the Housing Committee in the Senate, and Manyata MP Gitonga Mukunji, a member of a Housing Committee in the National Assembly, saying the judiciary rulings are made in bad faith and do not take into consideration the public good.
All we are telling the judiciary, do not be used by a few individuals by stopping public development or by stopping development that is taken by the government.
Our judiciary has not had a very clean past, and it has made many mistakes in the past. Where we are today as a country in terms of corruption has been, in some extent percentage, been because of our judiciary.
The two legislators are seeking far-reaching reforms in the composition of a Judicial Service Commission, while at the same time pushing for the creation of a special division of a court to deal with litigations against government policies.
Just like we have the commercial courts, just like we have the employment courts, any issue that emanates from the government, that anybody wants to take it to court, it should not just go to any court. It should go to a policy court. And that court will have to listen to that case within a certain timeline of about 30 days.
What is public participation? Is asking people whether they are in support of something or not. Why would the judiciary stop that?
According to the Kenya Kwanza legislators, impeding on the housing levy, a matter now pending before the appellate court, will not only deal a blow to Kenya Kwanza's pre-election pact with Kenyans, but will also render thousands of youth jobless.
For this country to move on, we have to turn it into a construction site so that we can have jobs being created, we can have vibrancy in creation of jobs and giving people opportunities.
If they stop this project that is ongoing right here, where will these people go? And what we are telling the judiciary, we are not actually telling them what to do. We are telling them to apply what we call public good and public interest when they are giving their court orders.
The affordable housing project has kicked off in Ruiru in Kiambu, Nairobi's South Sea, Starehe and Shauri Moyo, Mavoko in Machakos, and in Nakuru. John Jacob Curia, Prime Edition.
Thank you, Kyria, for that story. Now, Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nakhumicha has condemned instances of assault on health workers. Nakhumicha says the perpetrators of such acts will face the full force of the law. Her sentiments come into the wake of a video circulating on social media showing two members of the public verbally abusing a health worker at Port Victoria Hospital in Busia County. Health Workers Union want those involved held responsible. They have also called for an urgent review of safety protocol at health facilities.
A video circulating on social media shows a man and a woman causing a scene at Port Victoria Hospital in Busia County.
Tunaleta patient in emergency. She cannot breathe.
In the video said to have been recorded on the 31st of December 2023, a man and a woman are seen and heard insulting a female health worker, demanding that their friend be attended to. At some point, they make frantic calls and threaten to call a top government official. Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nakhumicha has condemned the incident, terming it an attack on the entire healthcare system and the principles that guide it.
Health workers are the pillar of healthcare in this country. As a Minister for Health, I will not allow it for anybody to disrespect my health workers. These people are working under very difficult circumstances. Some of them, they'll tell you they have their own personal issues they're dealing with, but they have to put that aside and take care of a patient. So you come as a patient. Instead of being a patient waiting patiently to be served, you are there, you want to make noise at health work.
Nakhumicha, however, commended the health worker for maintaining her professionalism under such hostile circumstances.
But I'm calling upon my colleague in Interior that we must identify that person and let them face the full force of the law. Because as they did that, this nurse ought to have been serving other patients. But now they hampered the nurse from serving. So we are not going to allow it to happen. I'm going to be the advocate of health workers.
Since that incident, we have investigated. Even as we speak now, there is a team from the health department that has been Budalangi the whole day to just make sure we understand every aspect of it. If there was a service failure, we need to understand it. But the most outrageous thing is the reaction and actions of the people you saw in that video. They broke public property, they destroyed public property, they molested a health worker and uttered unprintable things. We are working with the Budalangi police authorities and also the county police authorities to ensure that those individuals who have since been identified are apprehended and charged in a court of law.
In a joint statement by trade unions in the health sector, the incident was strongly condemned. The unions say that such incidents are on the rise, with those culpable yet to be held to account. The unions are now demanding for the immediate arrest of the aggressors in the Busia video, enhancement of security surveillance and intervention protocols in all health facilities across the country, provision of armed security personnel in all health facilities, especially during night duties, and urgent implementation of Occupational Safety and Health Act within health facilities. A recent study titled Violence Against Healthcare Workers found that approximately half of healthcare workers in Kenya reported experiencing violence. The most common forms of violence are verbal at 80.6% and emotional abuse at 78.6%. Patients and their relatives were the most common aggressors, accounting for 44.7%, while supervisors accounted for 12.5%.
What are you guys looking at? What are you guys looking at?
Nancy Okware, Prime Edition.
Lands Cabinet Secretary Alice Wahome now says the controversial Gikumari property in Roiro belongs to the residents of Gikumari and not a private developer. Speaking in Roiro, the CS urged the developer, who she accused of land grabbing, to follow the right procedures in acquiring land.
These were the scenes at Gikumari Roiro constituency yesterday. A tiff between residents and a private developer turned ugly over 23,000 acre piece of land. And today, CS Lands Alice Wahome came to intervene on the matter, setting the record straight, declaring that Gikumari land belongs to the residents.
Shamba ya Roiro East Block 4, measuring 2,550 acres. Hiyo shamba ni ya wale waliuziwa na Kithunguri Ranch na Juja Farm. Na kuna mtu ambaye ako na makaratasi badia, na nimeamrisha DCI na polisi wa Roiro waanze kazi ya uchunguzi na investigation. Niambie wale wako na cheti na title zetu, wajue hizo title ambaye zimepeanwa kutoka hii registry ya hapa Embu, hapa Roiro, ni za ukweli na ziko sawa kabisa, wasiwe na wasiwasi. And I cannot apologize. Siwezi ku-apologize kwa sababu hiyo kazi haijafanyikia ofisi yetu. Kama ni ofisa wetu ameipeana, angeenda nyumbani sahi.
The CS, who put land grabbers on notice, urged anyone interested in acquiring a property anywhere in the country to follow the procedures provided in the law.
The government is here speaking and saying that we do not know about those titles and there is no land available for grabbing in Roiro East. And those farms, meaning the Juja Farm, 1976, and Githunguri Ranching, those two big blocks of lands belong to the people who bought, and they have valid titles for their parcels.
Vile mimi nimesikia na nimeona askari wako wengi pale chini. Mimi nimeongea na huyo developer, mimi Simon Ng'ang'a King'ara, mbunge wa Roiro, na akaniambia, na mimi ningetaka kuja hapa aseme kama ni uongo au ni ukweli. Akasema hiyo shamba ya Juja Farm 1976 Limited na Githunguri Ranch title zote aliniambia ni badia, na akaniambia hivi karibuni watabomoa manyumba 15,000.
The tussle over Gikumari land on Wednesday saw residents hold demonstrations, accusing high-ranking individuals of eyeing the prime property.
The officers may have been fallen prey to some fraudsters. The DCI, Roiro, should get into action immediately and bring out those people who are giving us sleepless nights during Christmas period.
They forcefully evicted earth movers that were constructing roads in the area. For Premedition, I'm Gladys Mungai.
A Milimani Magistrates Court has urgently scheduled a case involving theft of government-subsidized fertilizer hearing for tomorrow, Friday. Due to the perishable nature of the goods, the Chief Magistrate said he urgently needs to hear the case to release the exhibits. The suspect, Robert Kipnetich Bet, was arrested in Narok County Wednesday evening in possession of 252 bags of 50 kilos government-subsidized fertilizer that were presented in court Thursday as exhibits. Details in the Scales of Justice segment.
Thursday's ruling by the second highest court in the land is a win for the government, which had persuaded the court to consider quashing the oral submissions from the respondents on the controversial housing levy. The three-judge bench led by Justice Lydia Achode, John Mativo and Gashoka Mwanike ruled the government will continue to collect the housing levy until the 26th when the court will determine the case. The appellate court bench said upon hearing the parties, all the applications are consolidated. Treasury CS moved to the Court of Appeal to block the order stopping the collection of the levy. Elsewhere, Milimani Magistrate Court has urgently scheduled a case involving theft of government-subsidized fertilizer hearing for tomorrow, Friday.
To preserve it and to considering the moisture content of the said fertilizer so that it does not get wasted and spoiled.
Due to the perishable nature of the goods, the Chief Magistrate said he urgently needs to hear the case to release the exhibits.
Priority hearing date so that it can be heard and determined ahead of expiry date of the intended exhibits.
The suspect Robert Kipngetich Bet was arrested in Narok County Wednesday evening in possession of 252 bags of 50 kgs government-subsidized fertilizer that was presented in court Thursday as exhibits. Ruth Wamboy for Prime Edition.
Well, the government is planning to explore other alternative sources of financing. This is in the 2024 draft budget policy. We have that story in business and others for you coming after the break.
We've gone ahead tukamaliza pia school fees ya your other kid.
Thank you God. Asante sana Loto Moto.
Cheza Loto Moto. Shinda pesa moto moto.
Kwenye ulimwengu wa sasa, taaluma za mikono zina umaarufu mwingi. Jiunge na Sensei Institute of Technology tukupe ujuzi na uzoefu wa kushughulikia ulimwengu. Tunafunza taaluma kama plant operator, plant mechanics, kuendesha gari na trailer, kuweka CCTV na alarm, kuweka solar, kuweka stima, motorcycle, motor vehicle mechanics na electronics, teknolojia ujenzi wa mijengo, ujenzi wa barabara na mabwawa, hospitality na taaluma nyinginezo. Kujiunga nasi, beba kitambulisho chako na utembelee tawi letu lolote. Sensei College. My skills, my future.
Catch the Kisumu and Nanyuki Safari trains as you travel back from your festivities. The daily service runs up to 14th January 2024, with the Nanyuki train departing at 9 a.m. and the Kisumu train at 6:30 p.m.
Let's not have addiction in the first place. So try and restrain screen time from your children. Remember, if your child is watching too much TV, they're actually deleting parts of their brains and connectivity.
For parents, please keep an open communication with your child.
To book, dial *639# or visit metickets.krc.co.ke. It's safe, affordable, reliable. For inquiries, contact us on 0709 907 000.
Welcome back. Now, the government will stop at nothing short of ending banditry and cattle rustling in the country. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki says the government has acquired more sophisticated weapons to deal with cattle rustlers. Kindiki says the country has regrettably lost several security officers to banditry attacks and something must be done to ensure the losses are not in vain. He was speaking at the Mlango area in Isiolo County, where he witnessed the recovery of stolen camels.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki has reiterated the government's commitment to rooting out banditry and cattle rustling in the 6 affected counties of the North Rift, as well as Meru, Isiolo and Marsabit. To deal effectively with the dangerous criminals, the CS says the government has acquired sufficient and more sophisticated weapons and bulletproof vehicles that will be used in the operation. He said that aerial attacks will also be used to neutralize the criminals who often hide in hard-to-reach areas.
Uko hapo umejificha kwa pango, ati mlima fulani, sijui pango fulani, sijui kuna mahali, sijui gari iwezi fika. Hatuhitaji magari kufika pale saa hii. Tutakugonga kutoka juu.
He said the Operation Maliza Uhalifu that's ongoing in the North Rift has been 70% successful and will be extended to include the 3 counties of Meru, Isiolo and Marsabit.
Na tumeona ile matunda ambayo hiyo operation imeleta, kwa sababu ukora umepungua kwa 70%. Na ile imebaki 30% tutamaliza.
The CS further continued to warn chiefs and their assistants that failure to perform to the required standards will not be tolerated.
Haitawezekana wewe na mkora kukaa pale. Kwa hivyo tutakutoa kwanza, ndio utoe uniform kwanza, tukustaki, tukufute kazi, alafu tubaki na ule jambazi peke yake, tutamalizana na yeye.
Tilio Marco for Prime Edition.
National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula has emphasized the critical role played by nature in safeguarding the environment. In his keynote address at the official opening of the 27th Conference of Speakers and Presiding Officers of the Commonwealth in Uganda, Wetangula pointed out that climate-related shocks are becoming more frequent and severe, hence hindering poverty eradication in the continent.
During the 27th Conference of Speakers and Presiding Officers of the Commonwealth, hosted by the Parliament of Uganda in Kampala and graced by President Yoweri Museveni, Wetangula emphasized that Africa was unfairly being impacted by climate change compared to other regions in the world.
Whoever is mitigating the pollutions and whoever is imposing adaptations on us must pay. The polluters must pay. But the polluters are paying themselves because we don't know what they are doing. So you find big NGOs in America, in Europe, are actually harvesting carbon credit proceeds on the basis of African and probably Asian securities.
While addressing over 32 speakers from the Commonwealth member states, raised concerns that African countries have to spend more than their fair share for adaptation efforts, currently estimated at 10% of GDP annually.
We need to have a situation where those in the executive, those in ministries, those who manage our missions abroad, that negotiate and sign to these agreements must promptly bring them to the attention of parliaments for parliaments to act on them.
Wetangula, who was also accompanied by Senate Speaker Amason Kingi, said Parliament, as the representatives of the people, should put legislations together to confront these global challenges.
And our parliaments must be forever alert to ensure that climate change that comes with the ravages that we have been feeling has also a silver lining in carbon credits that bring resources for mitigation. And the mitigation resources should not be going to those who have caused the problem in the first place.
President Museveni said that the conference was impactful to the globe as it brought together leaders of parliaments with a combined total population of 2.4 billion people, in whom, if the right policies are effected, the world will be a better place to live in. Give us Nyamai, Prime Edition.
MPs from the northeastern region now want the UN, AU and IGAD to intervene and force Ethiopia to rescind its decision to take a part of Somaliland territory. Led by Elders MP Aidan Kenan, the MPs insist the memorandum between Ethiopia and Somaliland that surrendered a 20-kilometer strip of Somaliland to Ethiopia is against international law and detrimental to the stability of the region.
we really want Ethiopia to be stable for the sake of Kenya, because we have suffered. This, where we come from, we have suffered the effects of instability in the neighboring countries. Al-Shabaab.
Already in our region.
So we do not want to be the punching bag of irresponsible leadership in the region. We are telling them, behave and conform to the international law. That is our message. So if you want something along the sea, in the Red Sea, do it with civility. Do it politely. But when you chase them and say, I must have access to the ocean, as who?
As regards the lease of land or access to seaport within Somali territory, without doing it with the federal government of Somalia and with purporting to do it with the region in Somalia. That itself is illegal, unconstitutional, and in international law, that itself is a travesty of the rules-based order of the international community.
Private health institutions found culpable of filing false NHIF claims will be forced to refund the resources. Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nakhumicha says an audit into the claims has exposed glaring fraud that may have fleeced the exchanger billions of shillings. Achola Simon reports.
In one of the questionable claims, the Cabinet Secretary for Health, Susan Nakhumicha, revealed that a private health institution is claiming at least 1 billion Kenya shillings being payment for services rendered to patients.
It is a sad state, I must say that we have people who falsify documents to claim from NHIF. And they do not claim small monies. They claim huge sums of money.
She said the exorbitant and fictitious claims had crippled the health insurance fund, adversely affecting service delivery in public health institutions.
We have gone to the extent of even pursuing refunds. Between December and now, NHIF is pursuing refunds of 171 million from private facilities. It is not fair.
In some instances, the Cabinet Secretary says there have been multiple claims for same treatment or surgical processes, raising questions over the authenticity of the claims.
Edwafia, every year, the premium from national government is 4.6 billion. But when you look at the loss ratio, I was checking this morning, is 142%. And you tell me, we have been students, all of us. When you are in high school, that is when you are most healthiest. You don't expect that population to be going to hospitals all the time. So how is it that the loss ratio is 142%?
Nakhumicha also revealed that the government has cast its eyes on the Edu Afya scheme that covers students across the country. She said losses on the student scheme hit well over 140%.
We have places where some facilities have even placed nurses in schools in the name of taking care of students, but they are not. They're just putting documentation together for them to fill forms to claim from NHIF.
Nakhumicha spoke as she continued with her tour of health facilities across the country.
We have gaps. We have human resource gaps. We have supplies gap. And supplies gap, I think, is the biggest that we have to deal with.
On Thursday, the CS toured Nangina Mission Hospital in Busia County and St. Mary's Mission Hospital in Mumias, Kakamega County. The tours are meant to ascertain the true state of health institutions across the country. Achola Simon, Prime Edition, Kisumu County.
Business activities in the Limuru clothes market have stalled for the better part of Thursday after loaders who supply sellers with their stock held peaceful demonstrations decrying the loss of their donkeys to suspected illegal slaughters. According to the loaders, donkey slaughtering is rampant in the country, calling on the government to ban the practice and hasten security.
Agitated loaders in Limuru Clothes Market took to the streets decrying the loss of their donkeys to suspected illegal slaughters in the sub-county Limuru constituency. Initially, the workload was minimal, but now they're forced to carry luggage on their backs and carts due to the rise of donkey theft.
Limu sisi hata kutoweza kufanya kazi na kushirikiana venye tumekuwa
na pia kazi ikakuwa mzito. Hii mizigo ukiangalia hakuna mzigo iko chini ya kilo 100.
Wizi imekuwa ikienda kila wakati unasikia hapa imeibiwa 5, hapa imeibiwa 6.
The loaders say 10 donkeys have been stolen and the act has crippled their business since they depend on the donkeys to transport luggage to their clients. They added that the donkey slaughter business has become rampant in the country, calling on the government to stem the vice.
Maisha iko gumu. Hatuoni vile tunakona haraka kununua punda ama mahali tutatoa pesa kwenda kununua punda. So inakuonyesha utaendelea kuumia.
Mimi naomba hizo fichinjio zote sifungwe. Kitu ya pili, hizi gozi za punda zinapelekwa China. Waangalie hawa watu wanaimport vitu kutoka Kenya kupeleka China, zinapitia wapi? Na ni akina nani hawa wako na hizo biashara?
Confirming the incident, Limuru Sub-County Police Commander Philip Mwanya urged owners of the donkey within Limuru to be vigilant and protect the animal which has become a target of the said criminals.
Na uchunguzi imeanza. Na members of public watupatie report ikiwa wanaona wako suspicious na ile watu wanaimba punda watupatie report.
In 2012, Kenya legalized the slaughter of donkeys for meat and hides for the Asian medicine market. However, in 2020, the government banned the commercial slaughter of donkeys. This ban was due to concerns about the theft of donkeys by gangs seeking their skin and other products. However, in May 2021, the court overturned the ban after successful legal challenge by slaughterhouses, arguing that the ban was a violation of workers' rights. Kasi Chanamasha, Prime Edition.
Cheza Loto Moto.
School fees mtoto imelipwa, lakini bado tunataka kuendelea throughout.
Loto Moto imekuja kwa maisha yetu when I needed it the most. That is all I can say for now. I'm so grateful. May God bless you.
Cheza Loto Moto. Shinda pesa moto moto.
Thing is keeping Nora from being just a normal young girl. She really needs some help.
And what do you mean by that, Alonzo? Are you implying that my daughter is insane? You really think that I'd be capable to deceive your father that way? And most of all, with a man that is a lot younger than I am?
It's only natural. It's only natural considering you're already having something with someone new. Are you planning to marry soon?
Oh, Mrs. Brigida, that's none of your business. Excuse me.
Oh.
Welcome back. A human rights organization has sued the Kenya Kwanza government for what they say is exploiting of the Boda Boda and Mama Mboga brand to get to power. The petitioners, led by Linda Jamii, President Professor Fred Ogola, now want compensation for this constituent of voters, claiming the government has failed to deliver its pledges to them. More on this and other stories in our county news roundup.
Fred Ogola says Kenya Kwanza's use of Mama Mboga and Boda Boda to aid their campaign has seen those in the business stigmatized in society and blamed for the current situation in the country and the rising cost of living.
Kwanza administration, their employees and everybody else should not use the term Boda Boda and Mama Mboga without permission until this case is heard and determined. And also there's a psychological trauma to the Boda Boda people and Mama Mboga people when everybody feels wao ndio wako kwa serikali lakini hawako.
Meanwhile, in Borabu Sub-County, a rise in criminal activities ranging from kidnappings, mobile money theft and robbery has put residents here on edge. MP Patrick Osero urges Interior Cabinet Secretary Kindiki Kithure to address this situation promptly.
Lile jambo ambalo linatushangaza ni kwamba hizi visa zote ziko na uhusiano fulani kuna watu ambayo wanajua pahali unaweka loan zako kwa mtandao. Hata kama hujachukua loan wanajua. Tunaomba ya kwamba hawa ambao wanachunguza wachukue kazi yao vilivyo.
Ngirie kati atusaidie na hasa hawa watu wapatikane.
Elsewhere, over 1,000 mothers in Kinyoro Ward, Trans Nzoia County, were provided with cooking gas, courtesy of Area Ward Representative Andrew Kipeke. This initiative aims to curb environmental destruction caused by tree cutting in the region.
Hii gas imetusaidia forest yetu itaendelea vizuri. Hatutakata miti ovyo.
Licha ya kuwa ni kifaa kizuri na cha haraka kupika chakula, pia ni kifaa hatari kikitumika vibaya.
Mimi kuleta hizi gas ni mambo ya climate change, na watu wasikata miti, wapata nafasi ya kupanda miti kwa wingi na wasikata miti vile vile.
Still in Trans Nzoia County, more than 700 families in the Nayopong area of Endebess constituency are afraid of losing their homes due to a land dispute. They are calling on the government to intervene to save them from the uncertainty.
Kwa hapo tangu zamani ndio wataendelea kukaa hapo hivi. Hakuna mwingine anatoka mbali na kuja kuondoa ile mtu ambaye yuko hapo hivi.
Zaidi ya miaka 30 tumeishi bila changamoto lolote.
Tunataka serikali kuu na serikali za kaunti kuja ingie maneno na itupatie wajibu mara moja.
John Junge for Prime Edition.
Welcome back. It's now time for business. Now, Kenya's large dairy sector offers good opportunities to combat antimicrobial resistance, but there are risks they might go undetected. The country's dairy board says despite milk producers earning a whopping 22.6 billion shillings annually, challenges such as the dominance of the small-scale and regulated producers and the existence of antibiotic residue in milk caused by some animal husbandry practices are threatening the subsector.
Kenya's dairy industry, a significant pillar of the country's economy, is grappling with the severe challenge arising from the prevalence of antibiotic residues in milk. In response to this pressing issue, Teresia Ndungu, Director for Livestock Production in Nyandarua County, and a doctoral student at Egerton University, is spearheading the development of affordable, user-friendly solutions to detect these antibiotic residues at the farm level. Teresia's initiative seeks to bolster food safety standards not only in Kenya, but also in the larger East African region. Her innovative approach to test for antibiotic residues has earned her the support of our World Bank International Development Association IDA scholarship through the Center of Excellence in Sustainable Agriculture and Agribusiness Management at Egerton University. She is now looking at scaling up her smallholder-based solutions in order for it to reach the mass market and be part of the overall drive to help improve food security. Edna Murungi for Prime Edition.
Local manufacturers are set to be hard hit with delays in shipment of raw materials and finished goods affecting production. This is after global shipping lines shunned the Red Sea route of attacks as the Israel-Palestine war heightened. Frederick Mwoki with the details.
A prolonged war campaign targeting commercial vessels has disrupted the global economy by delaying deliveries of goods, fuel and food, and pushing up prices. Kenya and other East African countries are now staring at higher freight costs and longer cargo delivery time as global shipping lines shun the Red Sea route of attacks. Maersk has suspended shipping through the Red Sea and Suez Canal, which is one of the world's most important maritime trade routes. Kenyan local manufacturers are feeling the impact owing to delays on shipping lines, hence affecting Kenyan imports in terms of vessel availability, transshipments, and general cost adjustment. Maersk vessel Gibraltar was targeted by a missile while traveling from Salalah Oman to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Salalah is a key transshipment hub serving Kenya, Dar es Salaam and other small ports on the Indian Ocean coast of the region. Other firms that have been affected include French company CMA CGM, a key shipping line that calls at the port of Mombasa, and German transport company Hapag-Lloyd. Meanwhile, the assaults by Houthi rebels in Yemen on commercial vessels in recent weeks have resulted in many firms deciding to avoid one of the world's busiest shipping lanes, which sees vessels pass through the Straits of Bab al-Mandab, a 20-mile-wide channel that splits Eritrea and Djibouti on the African side, and Yemen on the Arabian Peninsula, and then Egypt's Suez Canal further north. Frederick Mwoki for Prime Edition.
The government will explore other alternative sources of financing, including climate change financing options, debt for nature swaps, Japan's samurai and Chinese panda bonds if market and macroeconomic environment allow. In the 2024 draft budget policy statement, the National Treasury has stated that the issuance of treasury bonds and treasury bills in the domestic market will be used to fund net domestic financing requirements. Kenya recently made an interest repayment of its Eurobond amounting to 10.8 billion shillings.
With the objective of minimizing costs and risk of public debt, the government seeks to mobilize resources mainly from multilateral, bilateral and commercial sources to fund the fiscal deficit and repay maturing external debts. Details from the 2024 draft budget policy statement states that more emphasis would be to maximize concessional loans, while non-concessional and commercial external borrowing will be limited to economic enabler projects that cannot secure concessional financing and are in line with the bottom-up transformational agenda of the government. The government is seeking to swap the commercial loan payments with nature conservation investments and issuing Chinese or Japanese bonds, just a few of the fresh alternatives. A statement from the Treasury Ministry shows that Kenya recently made an interest payment on its Eurobonds maturing in June on schedule, amounting to 10.8 billion shillings. The final interest payment of its Eurobond is scheduled for the last week of June 2024, alongside the repayment of principal amount of $2 billion. Frederick Mwoki for Prime Edition.
Retail giant Next has warned suppliers of its products could be delayed if disruption to shipping in the Red Sea continues. Attacks by rebels on vessels is one of the world's busiest shipping lanes have resulted in farms avoiding the area and taking longer routes. Details of this and more in the Global News Roundup.
Next said if access difficulties continue, delays to stock deliveries to the UK were likely early this year. The warning came as the retailer reported better than expected sales in the run-up to Christmas. The bumper festive period led to the high street giant, which has about 460 shops in the UK and Ireland, to raise its profit forecast by 5% to €960 million for 2024. But it warned of supply chain risk in its trading statement on Thursday. Difficulties with access to Suez Canal, if they continue, are likely to cause some delays to stock deliveries in the early part of the year, the retailer said. Next is not the first company to warn of issues in receiving goods and products, with global supply chains facing disruption as a result of the world's biggest shipping companies diverting journeys away from the Red Sea. Meanwhile, China has stepped up the construction of ultra-fast charging facilities for the new energy vehicles, with more supercharging stations and piles being built up across the country. The move aimed to support the development of the new energy vehicles industry and move towards the goal of reaching carbon neutrality. Efforts are also being made to provide adequate facilities on some of the country's key routes, including the 380 National Highway, a major transportation artery spanning stretching over 5,400 kilometers, which links Shanghai in the east with southwest China's Xinjiang. Finally, oil prices rose, adding to solid gains in the previous session on persistent concerns over Middle Eastern supply following disruption at a field in Libya and heightened tension around the Israel-Gaza war. Brent crude rose 38 cents or 0.5% to $78.63 a barrel by 7:40 a.m. Saudi time, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures, both benchmarks rose by around 3% to settle higher for the first time in 5 days on Wednesday, with West Texas Intermediate seeing the biggest daily percentage gain since mid-November. While U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures rose 52 cents or 0.7% to $73.22.
Na uwezi enda kulipoti ya wakina Michael Filo wanafanya.
Sasa.
Sema kweli. Utafungwa.
Si ulikuwa umesema see not, hear not.
Wewe uko na lori?
Mimi sina lori.
Kuna mahali unaendeshanga lori?
Hapana.
Kuna mahali ulifanya accident?
Hapana.
Hakuna. Kuna mahali bidhaa yako iliibiwa na ikauzwa?
Hapana.
Hakuna. So, what are you doing here? Between me and you. What is wrong with me and you?
Wisi ni hatia.
Mimi unajua nilitoroka kwa sababu kuna kisa mheshimiwa na waizi walikuja wakatawala nini? Wakatawala hiyo road na wakaipa na wakaenda mheshimiwa. Na hiyo tu ndio mimi nilikuwa nikisema munisamee kwa sababu a accident is a accident.
的进攻加强，目标仍然是科学界的高层。王冕教授，看完了这份名单，你有什么感受吗？4次，追求下一次是否倾向？
你以为这点小把戏能骗得了我吗？至少轮到我了。
Glad to have you on board. Welcome to Channel 1 Sports. I'm Bernard Okumu. Let's begin with tennis, where Team Kenya will leave the country on Friday ahead of the ITF CAT East Africa Junior Team Tennis Championship set to serve off on 5th to 15th of this month in Burundi. Now 12 players will represent Kenya in the boys and girls under 14 and under 16 categories. Sela Onyango reports.
The Kenyan contingent was officially flagged off Thursday by Tennis Kenya Federation President James Kinani ahead of the regional championship. Kenya will field 12 players in the boys and girls under 14 and under 16 categories.
We have a much stronger team. Maybe 1 or 2 players are same, but the third player is a stronger team. So, yeah, we're ready to take whoever comes our way.
So it's still a tough competition, but we are still hoping that with the kind of training that we've had this time around, to do better. Knowing the players that we have in the region, we are hoping to come back with all the golds.
Nancy Kawira will lead the girls team while Ayush Bandari will captain the boys team.
Working with my coach, which I wasn't doing well, and I think now I'm okay. I can compete well and I'll try my best.
I've been working on my weaknesses since like the last year's zonals, and I feel like much more confident in my game now, so like I expect myself to finish better than third this year.
South Africa-based Barack Ominde is expected to join the under-16 boys team on Friday, while Zimbabwe-based Melissa Mwaka will join the girls under-16 team.
Rest our laurels and say we won last year, so automatically must win this year. The answer is no. We have to continue working hard and even improve to find it more difficult for them to beat us, because we believe Kenyans are talented. They are actually talented athletes. So tennis is one of the games that we are doing well in.
Kenya emerged victorious in the last year's championship after winning 2 gold and 1 silver and a bronze. For Prime Edition, I'm Sila Onyango.
And stakeholders in the region are calling on governments in East Africa to waive taxes for sports development companies so as to encourage the creation of environment that will stimulate the thriving of sporting talents. Sports development companies could be a new concept on the continent, but their entry into the market is promising to change fortunes of many sports in Africa. Unlike commercial partners, sports development companies seek to create serious partnerships that help expose the talents.
We want to achieve is to create an environment for African talents and champions. And this can only happen when you start with youth. So in the building of this infrastructure for sport, in the building of this economy for sport, our number one target is actually those over 60% of youth population of the continent.
In Rwanda, a collaboration between the National Basketball Federation and Mchezo is expected to turn around the tidings of the sport in a country, with a company introducing incentives to league teams to encourage competition.
People shining in Africa, in Rwanda, to be recognized because around them, it is a shiny environment. So we are starting with the federation, basketball. And you have introduced here something totally new, which was the locker room bonus. So during the playoff, we were giving to every player of the winning team instant money through mobile money when they were leaving the pitch to the locker room. And we call it the locker room bonus. It is a way for us to not only encourage best competition, but it is also a way to demonstrate that this whole, I will say, challenge that people think exists to pay players is just not relevant when you decide to give yourself the means to do it.
However, challenges still exist for such companies, with governments in East Africa being called upon to create conducive environment for the operation of the entities.
Imagine if governments, for the amount of pressure they are removing from a government in sports development, which should be a government role, they would give them a tax waiver.
Sports federations have been urged to change tact in their approach to seeking partnerships with sponsors who prefer to work with popular sports than the less known ones.
Corporate, usually the youth, are not the priority. They're not the priority because for corporate, it's all about return of investment. Return on investment. If I invest in this event with youth, who is going to see it? Who is going to buy my product? But this is not where we are. We are into the building of sport infrastructure.
The views were shared during sports investment deliberations held on the sidelines of the 13th edition of the East Africa Legislative Assembly Games held in Rwanda in December. And from Rwanda back to Kenya, where Kenya Cup defending champions Kabras Sugar have bolstered their squad with the acquisition of Edward Mora from Menengai Oilers. Now the Kenya Simbas prop joins the Sugarmen alongside Gabriel Adero and Brian Mutua, who also joined Kabras from Strathmore Leos and Main Machine respectively. KRU Championship side Western Bulls have been the most active during this window, acquiring 7 players: Robert Murunga, Alan Otieno, Bravian Bukenya, Michael Mondi, Duncan Shigali, John Baraka, beg your pardon, and Samuel Afula, who joined on loan from Kabras Sugar. Now former Kenya Cup champions Impala, currently playing in the championship, have signed 4 players: John Carlos Mane, Owen Young, Raymond Otieno, David Ngumbao Musioka, and Leon Ondusa. Also, Algeria coach Jamel Belmadi says the Desert Foxes are not among the favourites ahead of this month's Africa Cup of Nations in Cote d'Ivoire. The North Africans are in Pool D alongside Angola, Burkina Faso and Mauritania.
Belmadi, a former Algeria international, has taken pressure off his side, claiming they are not among the favourites, insisting other sides stand a better chance of winning the title. Belmadi stated that host Cote d'Ivoire were the team to beat at the tournament starting on 13th January. He cited the Ivorians, along with the likes of Egypt, Senegal, Morocco, Tunisia and Nigeria, as greater contenders than the former champions. Algeria did not even reach the knockouts of the 2021 AFCON in Cameroon 2 years ago and failed to qualify for the 2022 World Cup. Algeria are embarking on a 10-day training camp in the Togolese capital of Lomé and will play 2 friendlies before flying to Cote d'Ivoire for the finals. The North Africans are in Pool D alongside Angola, Burkina Faso and Mauritania.
And La Liga leaders Real Madrid gained and they had fought 1-0 win over Real Mallorca thanks to Antonio Rudiger's late header. In another highly charged encounter, Girona humbled Atletico Madrid 4-3.
Real Mallorca hit the woodwork twice as Antonio Sanchez header bounced off the underside of the crossbar, with Samu Costa also hitting the post for the visitors. Those misses proved costly as Rudiger headed in from Luka Modric's fine left-wing corner in the 78th minute. Madrid are now unbeaten in 18 games in all competitions. The result had briefly taken Real 3 points clear at the top before second-place Girona moved back 11 points thanks to a 91st minute winning goal from Ivan Martin as they beat third-place Atletico Madrid 4-3. In other matches, Celta Vigo defeated Real Betis 2-1 while Granada trounced Cadiz 2-0.
Well, and on that La Liga, notice how we end tonight's edition of Sports on Channel 1. We do this again tomorrow. I'm Bernardo Kumu. Have a great evening.
In a world filled with uncertainty, there is one thing we can always count on: the power of compassion and generosity. Every day, families in Kenya face unimaginable challenges and hardships. They struggle to put food on the table, provide shelter for their loved ones, and access basic health care. But today, you have the power to make a difference. By just contributing 1 shilling and 50 cents from your airtime, your generosity can provide access to sanitary pads, nutritious food, clean water, education, and life-saving medical care to those who need it most. To support this cause, please tune in to your favorite radio station under the KBC umbrella for step-by-step instructions on how to subscribe. KBC Helping Hands. Together, we can make a difference and bring hope to those in need.
Get ready for the captivating return of the FKF Premier League, exclusively on KBC. Brace yourself for the thrill of football as 18 teams battle it out for glory. Every week, KBC brings you not one, but two heart-pounding